Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the Paradigm AI Smoke Woods and Irons from Callaway.
Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Jimmy Roberts, and this is your Golf Central update. 2020s will be big for Riviera Country Club and Los Angeles Golf. U.S. Open, of course, was at L.A. Country Club last year. Riviera will host not only the 2026 U.S. Women's Open, but also the Olympic golf competition during the 2028 Summer Games. And of course, Riv continues to host the Genesis Open as it has for 50 of the last 52 years. Tiger Woods making his 2024 debut at Riviera this week. Here's a look at what Woods did competitively in 2023. Tied for 45th here a year ago, made the cut at the Masters, but was in obvious pain during a weather-delayed third round. He eventually withdrew and had surgery on his ankle a couple of weeks later. He played twice in December, first at the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas, and then with his son Charlie at the PNC Championship. Tiger starts the tournament with Justin Thomas and Gary Woodland. They will tee off at 12:25 Eastern on Golf Central. Talked about Tiger's return with author Michael Bamberger. All right, listen, let's get right to it. What should we expect, you think, from Tiger this week?
Well, not much. I mean, he'll play 72 holes. People think of Riviera as hilly because you go down a big hill to get there from the clubhouse to the first tee. It's really not that hilly, but it is a long course. It's not an easy walking course. We've seen Tiger struggle with his walking the few times we get to see him to play. But when we say, what do you expect from Tiger? I mean, that's in terms of a score that he produces. Just the fact that we're seeing Tiger on a golf course playing competitive golf is great for golf and exciting for golfers. And Jimmy, just very briefly, let's look at this two ways. We're talking about one of the greatest athletes of all time still at it. We're talking about Ted Williams and Secretariat and Muhammad Ali right here in front of us. So that can't not be exciting. But on the other hand, Tiger last won in 2019 at the Masters. Well, excuse me, he won it, but 2019 he won twice in Japan at the Masters. Then the pandemic came. Hundreds of thousands of people are new to golf who have never really maybe seen Tiger play competitively at all. And they're going to get a chance to see Tiger on a golf course. You and I have had the privilege of doing that for decades, and it's a thrill.
All right, look, let's move beyond this week. He's 48 years old, amazing shape, talent, and determination, but also countless surgeries. He's tied for the all-time lead in PGA Tour wins. We know that, and he's 3 behind Nicklaus in majors. So I'm going to ask you what people most often ask me. Does he win again? And if he does it, does he have to pull a rabbit out of his hat to do so?
I don't see how he can. It was a miracle that he won in 2019. He had the gift of Molinari hitting into the water on 12 and 15 at Augusta. He played extremely well in Japan when he won. Having said that, I think we should go to a much higher authority than I to answer this question, which is Big Jack himself, Jack Nicklaus, who said, never, he said it repeatedly, he said it 1,000 times, never again, never bet against Tiger Woods, because he will prove you wrong again and again and again. And he probably will, even though all logic tells you he can't win another major. That means he probably will, because he has defied expectations at every single turn. Just consider the fact that he's going to walk this golf course for 4 days, given where he was after that near tragic, near fatal accident that he had a few years ago.
All right, so he is without a doubt one of the most competitive people that I have ever covered. And I'm just wondering, when he can't scratch that competitive itch anymore, what do you see him doing?
I think that's a profound question and the biggest challenge of his life. And I think Michael Jordan has faced this challenge, and very few others who have been in that extremely a rare air. I think one thing, this sounds like a boring answer, but it really is true. He is extremely devoted to the cause of education, certainly raising his kids, being the best father that he can. But that doesn't really scratch the competitive urge like it does. Maybe business does. We've seen him venturing into new things, building golf courses, now his own, more a clothing line with even more of his own stamp on it. But as Arnold and Jack have shown, to lead a fulfilling life, you have to have something beyond competitive golf. I would like to see, I think this is wishful thinking, I'm a fan of the 15 over Champions Tour, and I think it would be cool if Tiger made a real commitment to it, as Arnold did. Jack really did not, and try to be the first person to say when the U.S. U.S. Open, maybe not the first Gary player, but in a single year, U.S. Senior Open, U.S. British Open, British Senior Open, and Senior PGA Championship all in the same year. But it's going to be a challenge. What you're asking is going to be probably the biggest single challenge of the rest of his life.
He joked about being only 2 years away from being able to ride in a cart, but I'd have to imagine there is some appeal to him, at the very least, for the U.S. Senior Open. I mean, here's a guy who's won all these USGA championships. We know about the 3 juniors and the 3 amateurs, all the U.S. Opens, and an opportunity to win a Senior Open as well. So you'd imagine there might be some appeal there, but it's awfully difficult for me to see him playing on a week-to-week basis, don't you think?
Well, yes, period. And even on the senior tour, 54 holes out of a cart is something he's never going to do. I'm sure that was a starting point for his well, among many other things, for his lack of interest in live golf. But I would definitely distinguish between that and I would say the 3 most significant senior majors, the ones we just mentioned. So yes, the fact that Big Jack won it, Arnold won it, Gary Player won it, the icons of the game have won that U.S. Senior Open, I think that would be a really significant thing. It would be great for a great championship to see him play in it, take it seriously, contend, and win. For sure. And in my opinion, if you look at the totality of his USGA record, he is already by far, really, even with all due respect to Bob Jones and Jack Nicklaus, the greatest player in the history of the game in terms of USGA competitions. And now he has a chance to further that. And I think it's a good point, Jimmy. I think he'll take that seriously. He takes everything he does, he takes seriously. So he can't not.
Well, that's without question. You know, he's taken that position on the policy board as well. But I want to end this with one other thing. A lot of rumors running around that the Ryder Cup, which is next year at Bethpage, some speculation that Tiger will actually be the U.S. captain. If so, those 3 days are going to make Saturday at the Phoenix Open seem like a Sunday school class, don't you think? Is that what we get?
Yeah, they do it. Well, and I know that they're already talking seriously about how you prepare the crowds, how much alcohol you can serve them, New York being New York, Ryder Cup fans being Ryder Cup fans. We saw what happened just earlier or last year in Europe and Italy. So yes, that's a major distraction. People thought it was going to be Phil's year. They thought there might be 2. There has been some talk about whether Tiger would really want to be the captain or not, but we know that it's his job if he wants it. And yes, given that it would be in New York, given that it would be Tiger on the main stage, given that it would be coming off a U.S. defeat, it would be one of the biggest sporting events go way, I was going to say in golf history, but probably go way beyond golf, because when Tiger's stamp is on anything, whether it's a clothing line or a golf course that he's building, or his PGA Tour record, or an inaugural Ryder Cup captaincy, it's huge. He overwhelms everything in golf because he's the only person in golf, with all due respect to Phil Mickelson, who really is bigger than the game. Just like we saw when Taylor Swift showed up at Super Bowl, suddenly that Super Bowl opened its doors to literally tens of millions of fans who otherwise wouldn't be watching.
I don't know who it was who coined the phrase, but it's true. Tiger doesn't move the needle. He is the needle. Michael Bamberger, always good to be with you. We look forward to talking with you out on the golf trail as always.